Hello, hello. It's Mark Attwood, Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in a Cosmic Suit. How's it going? You well? Keep well. Remember, it's all about the present moment. Whatever nonsense is going on all around you is just that. It's nonsense. And most of this stuff is to wake up the sleepers. But I've been saying for a very long time that we have more than we know. The power is in our hands. We, the people. There is no savior coming over the hill on a white horse, because that savior is us. As a lot of you know, I established with Gary Keeley a healing center in the west of Ireland, live5dhealth.com. If you want to go and look at that, we've got 500 plus people who want to open up and do what we're doing, so that we can create a decentralized network of self-funding physical locations that are healing people, but also where people can trade in the private, meet to discuss things, etc., etc. And we educate people about how to stay healthy in this crazy time. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I got a message from Laura. Thanks, Laura, sending me this website, which I was extremely pleased to see. And I think you guys, wherever you are in the world, you should be interested in this, because this is called mylittlefarm.uk, which the statement here is: enjoy the benefits of owning a small holding without having to run one. And this really resonated with me. Because look, there's that word, sovereignty. Achieve food sovereignty. Become a smallholder. Enjoy real food weekly. I think a lot of us that are awake had an urge to go, hang on, when 2020 happened, I need to be growing my own vegetables. I need to be getting my own chickens and keeping I'm looking at 3 vegetable patches I built. Well, my friend built them actually in 2020 out the window. Then I stopped eating vegetables, so they're full of grass right now. But the point is that if you take a normal housing estate and look at maybe a piece of grass in the middle of it, and then you go to all of those houses and you add up how much they spend at Tesco's, fuck Tesco's, by the way, even though I sometimes have to shop there, I still fucking hate them. Aldi, Lidl, they're all Nazi organizations controlled by the cabal. And the food that's in there is basically poison, the vast majority of it. But if you added up the amount that the people who use a communal area spend at those things per week, you could very easily replace that with somebody tending a piece of land full time. And I had this vision a long time ago, but I didn't do anything about it, because we get driven in the directions that we get sent in. But the people behind My Small Farm are here with me to discuss what happened to them, because I think this is an amazing idea that could go worldwide very quickly with your support and sharing this video. So please welcome Kiva.
Hello.
And Law.
Hey.
How are we doing, guys?
Very good. It's good to meet you.
It's great to meet you. It's just so inspiring to see what you're doing. Do you want to tell your story and what My Little Farm's about?
Yes. So our story, to start in 2020, when everything kind of happened, I think it was for Kiva and I quite a big wake-up call, and realizing that the world was not what we thought it was. And like the whole waking up journey kind of really began from there for us. And we'd go on all these walks during lockdown, and then keep thinking, surely there must be something that we can do, that a solution to this. And as you were saying, we were part of these people who kept thinking, we need to buy a piece of land, start growing our own food, create a small holding, and become a little bit more independent and establish freedom for ourselves, but not only for ourselves, for our family, our friends, and the wider community. And so I think we started exploring different community projects and realizing that there was nothing was quite right, or either the projects were structured in a way that didn't feel quite right, or they were slightly disorganized. And so with that, we decided to buy our own piece of land and create a community project. So we started growing food. We had never grown anything before, so it was a massive learning curve.
Nothing? You'd never grown anything?
No, I wasn't even able to keep houseplants alive. Like,
brilliant.
Yeah, but I think it did really feel like we were being guided, and we had this massive, like, everything was actually quite easy at the start, like realizing that you can grow things and put a seed in the soil and nurture it and it will grow. Like life is with you, trying to help you with that. But yeah, so you're speaking to other people within the Awake community, we realized that everyone was in the same situation as us, where everyone wanted to set up their own small holding, maybe move out of the city, buy a piece of land, get cows, get chickens, grow their veg. But the reality of it was a lot different, where it's not actually that straightforward to move out to the country, buy land, and then let alone finance it and then build it and then look after the animals. And really, if you want to be fully self-sufficient, it is a full-time job. 7 days a week, there's no holidays. You can't take a break from milking the cow at 5 a.m. in the morning or looking after your chickens. So that's where we had the idea of creating My Little Farm, where we basically create a small holding and then members can join and become co-owners of this small holding. But we do all the building and the maintenance and the milking of the cow at 5 a.m. and people get essentially all the benefits, which are, access to land, seeing how your food is grown, and consuming food that is completely free of poison, and unvaccinated animals and raw milk, all these things that are really hard to find. And even when you get them from farm shops or organic farm shops, you can't really know. That's one thing we've realized, that you can't really know what quality they are really. And most even biodynamic farms, they would get their chickens in and they've all been vaccinated at 1 day old. So it's basically being able to provide people with these foods that are the same foods that you would have if you had chickens in your back garden, or if you had a cow, or if you were growing your own veg, where you really know how they are grown and how they are raised. So we provide that to our members, and also the land ownership, which is a big thing. That was the last piece of the puzzle for My Little Farm, when we really realized that actually we needed to include the land ownership, because it's great to have access to the food, but I think owning land is a big key in being free and self-sufficient. So I think, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think description? Got it.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at there's a move, there's moves, the awareness going on around the world, like especially in the States, with Bill Gates, or the character of Bill Gates being the biggest farmland owner in the whole of America. And I saw a thing yesterday which was stop the CCP buying land in America. And, so this is, people are starting to see that. And look at what's going on with the farmers across Europe.
Yeah.
France, Belgium, Germany now, just extraordinary, because they're being absolutely destroyed. And when I first moved to the west of Ireland, I could not believe the farmers that I met were being utterly decimated, but were getting enough money to kind of ignore the decimation. And it was this tiptoe totalitarianism, as David Icke coined it, the phrase. And one farmer that I met said, he had a dairy farm in his family for over 100 years, but he was being paid more to not farm than farm.
Yeah.
And and then they were buying up all the land and planting it with these awful trees that destroy the ground, and it's just so obvious. But because it's such a long-term plan, people can't see it, because when they're busy on a day-to-day basis. But that was the gift of COVID, right? Because it smacked us in the face and made us go, shit, what are we going to do? And but meeting people that have actually done something is quite a rare thing. That's why I'm really pleased that you agreed to come on the show and talk about this.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, it's definitely been challenging finding the way of sort of figuring out how to distribute ownership of the project and establish a community project that sort of shares the reward, but also has a clarity of vision and direction. And I suppose, because I don't think we're quite there yet in terms of, this, if we're in this form of this process of ascension, or, whatever the terminology is, whether we're collectively ready yet to be completely decentralized. And so I see this like where
it's a bridge.
A bridge, exactly. Yeah, to sort of use parts of the old system to enable us to transition into whatever comes next.
which is fabulous. So for people watching who are either, so this is a project in the UK at the moment, but we could replicate this in Ireland. You could take this, you know, worldwide. It's really about people power. And what is the actual pitch you would give to somebody? Say somebody sat there, because there's a lot of, I realized a long time ago that people watch my channel. Some of them are multimillionaires. A lot of them are on the dole and stuck in the state benefit system. But if there's people sat watching this with 10, 20, 30, 50, 100,000, whatever in the bank, they know that that money's not safe, right? They know that the banks are about to bail in on lots of people. There are, you know, there's lots of people like me who've talked about pragmatic alternatives like crypto and gold and silver and all of that. But this is like a living investment project. What is the pitch that you're actually putting to people that have money spare that could go into this, who might not even want the food or need the food? Or if they do, there's a different pitch for that as well. What is that pitch exactly?
Yeah, so I suppose we have slightly different pitches depending on who we're talking to. So
Shall I pull up the website at the same time?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. So we have so the main homepage is our sort of entry level investment that we're working to establish sort of a nationwide value proposition that sort of provides an entry level into food sovereignty to, at the moment, people within the UK. So they can, so if you've got £1,000 in the bank, you can invest it into My Little Farm, which provides you with a share ownership equivalent to 50 square meters of our farmland, co-ownership of all of our animals, and then you can book to come and access the physical farm. But if you're too far away to do that, then we'll ship you know, a selection of our products to you each week. So that could be you know, bone broth, raw milk, kefir, sauerkraut, vaccine-free meat, different things that, different foods that lend themselves to being posted. And then as we start to build that national network of people, we can start to see where hotspots are. And then those can be focus points in terms of establishing the next farms. So our objective is to establish 100 community farms across the UK over the next 10 years. And if we can help facilitate people do that in the UK and in other countries around the world, then that would be great. It's just the key is building the network of those people who want to back the project.
So I just say to the people watching this, so you see where I've gone here, register your interest. I think the most important thing you could do right now is go to that website, mylittle.farm.uk, and give them your email address, because this will be censored. And email addresses, I've been teaching people for years in my previous incarnation, are the most important thing that any organization can have when you're up against censorship on YouTube and Google and everywhere else. And this goes against what they want. So give these guys your email address and stay in touch, because this is a developing project. Even if you're not at the, even if you're not at the point of being ready to invest in something like this, you need to stay in touch with this project, and the email address is the best way of doing that. So, sorry, carry on, Keith. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And I think in addition to that, like if you don't have £1,000, we're aware that a lot of people don't have £1,000 accessible, and so we're happy to find ways in which to, other ways in which people can contribute to the project. And that's definitely been something we've been overwhelmed by over the past 3 years, is the amount of energy and commitment that has come from the community itself, and people really turning up to help make it happen and coming together. And so it's super exciting. So, even if you don't have, money in the bank, then still get in touch and join the wider community.
So you said, sorry, go on.
No, go on. I was going to then say we have then other pitches to different people. So if there's an individual with a larger amount of money in the bank, we have higher tiers of investment. So the highest of which is what we call a smallholder investment, where it's £45,000, and that provides you with your own private area within the farm, with your own geodome, and then we cultivate the land on your behalf to then provide you with the benefits of owning a small holding without you needing to do the physical work yourself. So you can kind of come and milk the cow if you feel like it and the weather's good. But if it's chucking it down, we'll provide you with the milk in a bottle and you can still enjoy it. And then beyond that, we've then got, one of the things we want to do this year is to set up a fund, which, if you've got more than 45,000, we can then start to raise the required money to then invest in buying up more farmland, which we can then, buy the land and then redistribute it across the community afterwards, which would then pay the investor back, and we can then buy more land, redistribute it across the community. So those are probably the three tiers of investment that we're sort of seeking at the moment. And then another key part of the project is to provide land ownership to farmers. Like there's loads of young farmers who are coming through who are really passionate about regenerative farming, it's very hard for them to find, well-paid work in farming, and to be able to be in a position where they can afford to buy a piece of land, set up the farm, buy the infrastructure, build the infrastructure. So a key component is that we have each of our community farms, we have a lead farmer who's either an individual or a couple who can come in, and then we can they can become an increasing level of co-owner of the farm over the years that they run it successfully. Basically, with each year running it successfully, they gain an increasing level of ownership. So ultimately, and potentially the option to be able to live on the land as well. So live on the land they're farming, so we can help to navigate those planning restrictions. And provide young farmers with the opportunity to own the land that they're working on, provide to a community that really values them and supports them, and helps them to overcome, the challenges, and to understand that farming is hard work. Like it's really hard. And at the moment, it's a lot of farmers are doing that work invisibly to the majority of society. And so by putting those farmers back at the center of community and allowing that community to see and understand the process and to support the farmers through the good times and the hard times is a key part of it.
And for it to become aspirational for the next generation. And I think we've really seen that with our community, where you have kids come and get involved with the farmers, and then they say, when I'm older, I want to be a farmer. And that's like the best thing, like just seeing them really like loving it and having that connection to it. And it feels really special.
Well, I'm not what you call green fingered, but as a kid, I used to work on my friend's farm, and it was the best time. It was the absolute best time. It was so much hail baling and herding, picking eggs and herding cows and sheep, and motorbike riding. I remember a lot. That was good fun. And back when I grew up, I'm a bit older than you guys. Every garden in the street that I lived was a small holding. Every single garden. If I go back there, my dad, we had 2 greenhouses, a shed, and when it was dinner time, my mum would say, "Go out and pick the peas, go out and dig the potatoes, whatever," and then it would be straight to the plate. And meat wise, we used to go to a market twice a year and just buy half a cow and put it in a freezer in the shed.
Really?
And so I was very, very lucky in that respect, because I'm old enough to remember that time. But if I go back to that village and look at those gardens now, they're all lawn. And all the fronts used to be full of flowers. Now they've all been paved over, and they've got fucking electric vehicles on them. How to change a society in 4 easy decades. It's incredible.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. So one of the questions I think people watching this will be wanting to ask, because one of the supermarkets, what they do is they're always competing on price. They don't ever talk about what's behind. They pretend to, if I go to Super Value in Ireland, they've got these packages with the pictures of farmers, and we're the ones who do the milk, and it's just nonsense, right? I mean, the farmers are squeezed to the edge of their life. In fact, the suicide rate of farmers in this country is very, very high. And not to mention India, which is like, because of Monsanto and Bill Gates, the suicide rate, people don't know this, the suicide rate of farmers in India was in the hundreds of thousands. I don't know where it is at today, but that was a few years ago. But in fact, allegedly, it was the Indian farmers that strung up the gates, but that's another story. What they're going to, a question is that people might be asking is, what's the cost of the food going to be to me compared to my weekly bill if I'm currently shopping at Tesco?
So we want to make the food as affordable as possible, whilst also doing things in the best way for the animals, for the land, and for the community, and for the farmers. So it's hard to say when you compare it to supermarket prices. But I think our food is the produce that we sell is comparable to your organic farmers market. It's
okay. Yeah.
So you'll be paying, equivalent to what your local farmers market would be charging typically.
And of course, the more people that get involved and the bigger it gets, the lower the cost is over time. So this is like, back in the old world, this would be like a startup business where you get the benefits of being involved at the beginning because it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And this will catch fire, which brings me to the question, because I do find it interesting how when 2020 happened, whoever was awake suddenly had all these life experiences that all made sense that might not have made sense before. So what how did you two get so well organized, understand all this and put it together? I'm guessing you were involved in businesses and things like that before.
I think it did. I think for my whole life I probably had like things thrown at me, but like you don't really they don't really resonate. And so I think when 2020 hits, like both Kiva and I were like, oh my goodness, like this is like the whole picture. Then you see all the pieces of the puzzle and it just works. And then Kiva had a lot of experience building businesses. And I'm a nutritionist back as my background, and kind of woke up to the corruption in that field, way before COVID happened. So I think there was a lot of things that were just like helping us put the puzzle together. And then, I think we just couldn't stop thinking about it. So we were just going on walks, and then it was just like, we need land. And and there was not many projects that felt right for us, I think, to join into. So then I think that's also where it felt right for us to start our own project instead of joining into another project.
Because I think that's a key thing that there are a lot of people, a part of my little farm, who really love farming and getting involved in the day-to-day farming, and they have a passion and an interest in it. And Laura's definitely got a natural aptitude for connecting with growing things and a natural ability to, I don't know, we'd both plant a seed and hers would have a lot more life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like seriously, like she's got something in her that enables her to do that.
Bit of magic.
Yeah, which I don't have. And I think, but for me, I understand how important land and basically smallholding ownership is.
Hello, gorgeous.
It's woken up.
How important smallholding ownership is ultimately to freedom and saying no to whatever the crazy next mandate may be. Having, if we've got a source of food, community, land, then we can say no. And
exactly.
That's the fundamental thing. It
is. And I see that you said you're full up until March. Obviously, this has gone well. I saw you on the Richard Vogue show when I looked into you a little bit. So obviously, there's been a good start. What happens in March? Are you opening it up again?
Yeah, so we're taking registrations, people registering their interest at the moment, and then we'll be opening up more spaces from March onwards. Last year was it was a year. This little one came about in the end of July, which was completely outside of the system. Laura was so brave with doing that, like no scans, no at home,
no midwife.
You're truly growing your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is absolutely key. What you're
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask you sex or naming the baby because this is on the internet, but it's just wonderful to see.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
it really is. It breaks my heart. It's in a really good way. Okay, so that's cool. So talking about the way that you are doing things, I'm interested to know. It sounds to me like you're very much connected and guided to do this. And in my terminology, I'd say you were doing God's work. But do you feel spiritually guided in this in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think before, this last 3 years has just been a crazy period of relearning everything and just realizing that we've been lied to about pretty much everything. And prior to this, I had awareness of different religions, but I always had a resistance to the organized religions that I was aware of. But through this, I've certainly felt a connection with something outside, and a feeling of being guided. But I'm not sure what that is, or
It doesn't really matter what it is if you're aware of it and you feel like you're on a mission, right? Which is the best.
That's it.
That's the best feeling in the world, isn't it?
It is, it's incredible, and that definitely felt most powerful last year. There was sort of last springtime. There really felt like a powerful guiding force at that point, at that time. And that did send us on to we've sort of opened up to it, and it was a bit of a roller coaster through last year in terms of the community really pulled together around the farm. This one came along, and so now we've spent the winter just finding ourselves again, re-energizing and getting ready to get back at it this year, and really sort of pull everything that we've learned over the past 3 years together to sort of really make good progress this year.
Amazing. Are you using? Sorry.
It definitely feels like we are just like people find us and we find people, and it just feels so like we have even the fact that you found us, and it's I think it's beyond anything I've experienced before, where it's not coincidence. Like it is, people are being guided towards us, and we are being guided towards people, and I think it feels and then I think meeting people, our community, I always have that feeling that I've known them for so much longer than I have just known them, and it's we'll meet them and we'll be having the most meaningful and deep conversation, even though we've just been talking for 5 minutes, and I feel like I've known them forever, and it's it is really beautiful.
I totally understand that. That's exactly what's happened to me. But are you documenting all of this? Are you making a film by any chance? Because that would be wonderful if you are.
Yeah, we're not very good at.
We're not very good at self-promotion or documenting or anything like that. But it would be. You're right.
Yeah.
I would keep a video diary at the very least. I mean, you just need the phone, because you could put all that together, because a film would reach millions of people with this story. It's such a powerful story. So just a little.
Let's do that.
Make more of an effort with that. You have a natural ability with. Have you always had that sort of ability with sort of talking to camera and?
Well, it's a funny thing. I mean, I was a nervous. Yes, is the answer. The short answer. But I was a stand-up comic. I've been a public speaker for years. I made films and TV shows in the 90s, and so I've always sort of. It's one of those things that I did a bit of that, and I was like, I'll move on to this, and then I had loads of kids and lived in a different country, and I did a bit of permaculture in Morocco, and I set up a school in Morocco, and all of these things. I got very close to the Illuminati in nasty ways. It was everything was a preparation for this time, and so I have, but and I'm a talker, so that's why I got told to start this show, I think. But it all makes sense. For a couple of years, I was like, why am I doing this? And then it starts making sense, because then I brought. I mean, it's amazing. It's the most rewarding thing you could ever do. If you told me 3 years ago I'd have a healing center and more opening up all around the world, I'd have laughed at you. I'd been like, what? But then all the things I've learned as well on this journey, I call this whole period spiritual quarantine, because it's like you said, Kiva, suddenly you have to unlearn everything, relearn everything, and then learn all these new things. And I found, which is great though, because it brings you back to life, you know, because we were being killed, we were being murdered slowly, and then they sped it up, and we went, that survival instinct and that connection to whatever you want to call it, just brings us back to life, and breaks out of the chains that the invisible chains that we didn't realize we were in. So it's an amazing thing. I'm wondering, what's popping into my head is, are you doing things like electroculture? Are you dealing with the animals in a spiritual way? You know, that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of information out there, but I did find electroculture one of the most simple, powerful things to get a massive yield that we used to do before they took over farming.
Yeah, we've been learning about it and experimenting on a very small scale, but I think we definitely would like to do a bit more of that this year. And and then with the animals, we've got an amazing team, and everyone is very it is extremely, you know, spiritual and respectful. And you know, we did that. We killed our first chickens last year, and we all stood in a circle before doing it, and everyone, I cried, someone else was crying, and we said a prayer, and it just felt, like, I think that was one of the moments that probably was the most impactful for me since starting the project, was that first killing of an animal. But it was also extremely beautiful in a strange way, if that makes sense.
No, it makes complete sense. And I've been through lots of permutations of trying to work out the right way to live. And, you know, I think it was about 12 or 13 years ago. I went on a fast for a week. I fasted for a week on a farm in Devon, which was inappropriately called Ham Farm. You get hungry as you drive in. And every day we had a lecture from the guy that ran that retreat about food, and basically he convinced me to be a raw vegan at the time. And I did that for a while, and I got immediate health benefits, but then I started feeling ill again and I couldn't understand it. And then I ended up going on a peyote retreat in Glastonbury on a ley line near the Tor. And we did this, it was in a wigwam, and this Mexican chief called Cuauhti held this ceremony, which is an ancient ceremony. And then there was a feast, and the feast included bison, I think. And the guy that had been lecturing me to be a vegan was sat there eating bison. And I was like, what are you doing, man? And he said, oh no, we understand now, because it's all about honoring the animal, giving thanks, and going through this process. And it's the same with Ayurvedic. A lot of Ayurvedic people think that they're vegans. They're not. They have this and this has been the toughest part of doing this show. Actually, has been, I've talked about all sorts of horrible things, which I'm not going to mention in front of the baby, that get very little response. And as soon as I talk about veganism and food, it gets such an emotional response, and people calling me all sorts of names because because I healed myself by going on a carnivore diet. And I'm just sharing that experience, and then people started shouting at me because the isms are all satanic agendas, and we have to get to that point. So it's wonderful to hear that. And there is
sorry.
No, go on. Sorry, I was just thinking about go on.
I was just saying that there's quite a lot of people have been on that same journey, me included. I've been vegan for a while, and in our community, it's quite interesting because obviously everyone goes vegan for a really good, positive reason.
The right reasons, yeah.
And so it's just been quite interesting having these conversations, and then also realizing that, you know, when you're vegan and you're consuming, you know, whatever almond milk or whatever foods you're getting, the amount of insects and small animals that get killed compared to maybe killing one cow per family per year. And it's just that it's not on your plate, so you don't really think about it. And I think the beauty of our community is that because you see how things are farmed, and you see, you know, there's an insect problem on the crops. What do? Do we kill the slugs? Do we let them then just grow extra salads? And then the killing of the animals? I think it's a lot of people have had to be confronted with actually, what am I eating?
Yeah.
Even if I'm vegan, like, what am I eating? And then, you know, we've even had to have the chats about, okay, well, manure is the best thing to grow our veg, but then does that mean that the veg is not vegan? And then, you know, asking people to reconsider whether they would prefer us to buy in compost from a bag or create our own compost, which is essentially a lot of dead animals and manure and worms and all these things that you have to think about when you're actually doing the farming and being part of it.
Well, it's been so simplified to people that it just becomes a black or white decision, but it's far more complex than that. And nature, systems of nature, are the things that we're tapping back into, which is. Have you heard of Rachel Russell, by the way?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Her name
I'll
rings a
do
bell.
an introduction because she's amazing with the electroculture. I'll email you both together. She's brilliant. And what about the water? What are you doing with the water on the land? Are you, because it is like, you know, water's the biggest issue in terms of people's health, and obviously a lot. There's, you know, and even with the organic farms, you've got the issues of the quality of the water that's going into the land. You've also got the chemtrail issue. What are you doing about those?
Yeah, it's with the water thing, it's been so interesting because even, you know, like, water will go into pipes, and the pipes are black plastic, and then if that's in the sun, then like the water would probably be mixed with some plastic particles. So I think we're always thinking about these things and thinking, okay, like, how can we make it better? And like, I would love a whole like copper irrigation system on the farm, and like we are working towards, you know, making improvements, which, you know, are not always possible from the start. But yeah, with our water, we got the land doused, and there's a lot of underwater sources of water under the land. But at the moment we have I'm not sure if it's mains or not, but it's what would you, because we don't have any, it's not registered with any water company, so we wonder if it's from another source. But yeah, one of our plans on this farm is to have a borehole dug.
Fantastic.
And then with the chemtrails, yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do, really. We like to try and visualize a big bubble over the farm that kind of protects the farm, but then, yeah, I think polytunnels are a way of protecting from whatever falls down, but then that's another filter of the sun. Like, the sun has to go through the plastic, so I think it's just like weighing up the positives.
It's always pros and cons, isn't it? And but have you tried orgonite in the garden, in the growing as well? Have you heard of orgonite?
Sorry, say that again?
Orgonite. Have you heard of orgonite?
No. Have we heard of orgonite?
No.
So I've got friends in Morocco that make amazing orgonite, and we it's basically there was an Austrian in the 50s called Wilhelm Reich who realized that if you put organic metal in layers, it pulled the ether in, and he built a box that people would sit in, and it would basically, the ether would heal them from whatever, because it reorganizes your energy field, but it does the same things to plants. And when I was living in Morocco, we were manufacturing this orgonite, which they're still doing in Marrakesh, and we put it in the garden, and I'd lie there on the sunbed, and the chemtrails would come over, stop, and then start again.
Really?
So it's worth looking. It's worth looking at. It's cheap to make as well, because you just need epoxy resin and different metals, and you can grid the land with it. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I wonder if Charles Dowding spoke about that.
Oh, I think he did. Yeah, the guy, the big garden guy. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, and I think he did mention
videos I
something about copper and chemtrails. I'll have to look into it again.
Well, copper's just a case of, you know, swirling some, and this is brilliant as well. This is grander water.
Is that to structure the water?
This contains like the best structured water in the world, and it comes into contact and with the water. And there's a guy in Ireland that I bought this off. Grander again was another interesting guy. I think he was Austrian as well. He was building a free energy device in the 50s, I think, and then the government said, "Stop doing it. Here's £1 million. Stop doing it." He said, "No, we're going to kill you if you keep doing it." So we went, okay. So he started noticing the cat was drinking the water from this specific source. So he bought it. he understood that it transfers information immediately on a quantum.
Yeah.
So I wear this next to my body and I put it into drinks.
Yeah,
But there's a guy
it.
here called Douglas who's got this whole project for agriculture that he can't get in because obviously they've locked all the doors, where he's proven that a Grandad device, which I've got in my house, can massively increase the yield of a farm really, really easily just with one device. Anyway, I'm just chatting because I'm interested in this subject.
We'd love to learn more about that, because I think that's, it's like farming in itself has been so much, because we had no experience prior, so it's been like such a steep learning curve in just learning everything, and then to learn that there are all of these things that are outside of our general awareness in terms of that can really increase yields and improve the land and clear the skies and do all of these things. It's please send us over anything.
Well, yeah, it's all about sharing ideas, isn't it? And you know, these are some of the things I've learned, and I'm like, oh, we need to do this everywhere. How do we do it? And then you just get brick walls because they're closed systems, and the people are trapped inside. Well, the perception is that they're trapped inside the system. There are some amazing farmers around here. I'm not putting any of them down. I mean, they've been financially trapped, most of them, but you know, it's a case of standing up and getting involved with this. And you know, if there's a farmer watching this, what would you say to them? Give over a piece of your land if you're interested in this to be part of the project.
Yeah, so another thing we're doing is partnering, using the community to invest in existing farmers who are managing existing farmland to kind of help find the best practices in farming, and to enable, you know, there's a lot of farmers out there who have been trying their hardest to do things the right way, but the farming regulations and the systems put up a lot of barriers to them doing that. And so a lot of farmers have invested in machinery and processes that, you know, are counter to possibly what's best for the land. So please get in touch, and we can start to regenerate the farmland for the benefit of the community.
Are you going to have little camping spots for kids that want to come and be farmhands and stuff for a week or two?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, is that with food, like, a lot of people are very conscious about how much they're spending on food, but then the opportunity for more, you know, leisure activities, they're doing that within the normal opportunities within day-to-day life is usually, you know, an expensive thing to do. So what we're doing is basically combining those two things, like create the farm as a beautiful place to be and a beautiful place to connect with children, and for children to freely learn, and to all of those benefits, you know, and provide a space that, you know, is, so although the food may not be comparatively cheaper, you know, the access to spending an enjoyable day with your family in a beautiful location, harvesting your food, connecting with other like-minded people is very, very, very affordable relative to, you know, what you can do elsewhere.
Yeah, and I think it's like also understanding the membership as not just like a veg box or like, you know, a veg box, but it's more as if you were renting. You rent your house, maybe you rent an office or a garage, and then you rent a small holding. And it's not rental because it's ownership, but yeah, it's like, it's not just the food, it's the small holding, the place, the land, and also the access to the community, which is such a beautiful, amazing community of like-minded people.
Well, I think it's wonderful, and I've got tons more questions, but I think we'll leave it there for today, and just remind people of the website, which is mylittlefarm.uk. Go and register your email address, guys. Just do that, even if you're not ready to invest or be part of this, or if you're not in the UK, just put your email address in, because this is how we build these things. And be great to catch up with you again.
Yeah,
maybe when the sun's shining and you could come from the land and give us a little tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And if you ever find yourself down in our neck of the woods, please.
Where are you?
We're at the first farm that we started it's about 10 miles north of Brighton.
Oh, great. Beautiful.
Bitchute. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, well, I'm going to Edinburgh in a couple of weeks, and then I'm back in the UK, I think, in May, so I might do a little tour. It'd be great.
Yeah,
it's all a bit logistical, 5 kids, logistics, blah blah blah. But you know, I'd love to come and see it, and I'd love to. Hopefully, this has inspired some of you. If anybody's in Ireland watching this, get in touch with these guys. Let's. It's all about we the people. This is it. This is how we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and it's a real honor to meet you and a real pleasure to see what you're doing. And I will support this in any way I can. And just email me whatever you need promoting. I'll get it out and use my little list and whatever. But God bless you. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Yeah, take care. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.